All right, so you guys have heard us talk about the cowboy and horse for a while now when we're talking about fractions. So today we're going to learn the actual cowboy method, and the cowboy method is used to convert a fraction to a decimal. Okay, so we're going to move from a fraction to a decimal. Okay, so when we're converting, we have decimals, we have fractions, and we have percents. So today we're going to learn just this piece, the fraction to the decimal. Okay, so again, we use the cowboy method, and we learned that the cowboy, he sits on top, so he is the numerator, right? Okay, cowboy is the numerator, and then he rides on top of the horse, so the horse is the denominator. Okay, so one thing we're always going to do is we're always going to label our fractions. So the first thing I'm going to do is in example 1, they want to know what 1/5 is converted to a decimal. Okay, so I'm going to label my cowboy and my horse just to stay organized. And I know that the cowboy, he has been out on a long, hard trail ride, okay, working, and he wants to go home. So we drew his house, okay, and he's gonna go into the house. So I'm gonna write his 1. And when he gets inside, his wife has been there and she cleaned all day. And so she said, "You better take off those boots and hang up that hat." All right, so he takes off his boots and hat, and we always keep them nice and organized right on top of one another. And she says, "Dinner's not ready yet, but here is 2 donuts." Okay, and so there's our cowboy. He took off his boots and hat, and he ate 2 donuts. And all the while outside of the house, right, because horses don't live in houses, cowboys do, the horse is parked. So our 5 is parked outside. Okay, and now we are ready to divide. So I'm going to change colors so you guys can see. And we learned that we need to draw some blanks. So I have 3 blanks all around my decimal. So 5 does not go into 1. So I put a 0. So I move on. Does 5 go into 10? Yes, it does. Okay, so if I didn't know that, I could write out my 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on, right? And I can see, oh, 5 goes into 10 2 times, right here, 1, 2. So then 2 times 5 is 10, staying very organized. I subtract and I get 0. Okay, so I actually don't need my second donut because I'm already past the decimal, I'm behind the decimal, and I have reached a 0 line. Okay, so I can add that 0 there, it doesn't affect it. Okay, so this answer could be 0.2 or it could be 0.20. Both of those are the exact same thing. Okay, so either of those would be a correct decimal for 1/5. Okay, so now we're going to move on to example 2. In example 2, we have an improper fraction. It's improper, meaning that the top number is bigger. So we have a large cowboy on a tiny horse. Okay, we are still going to label our cowboy and our horse just like normal. And then that way I can properly put them in the house. So I'm going to draw my division house. Okay, my cowboy is parking his horse outside, and he goes inside, and he takes off his boots, hangs up his hat, and he's going to eat those 2 donuts. Okay, and so we can always start with 2 donuts, and if we need more, we can always have more, add more zeros, and if we need less, then that's fine too. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my blanks above each number. So blank above the 4, blank above the 0. My decimals line up, blank above the 0. Okay, so let's write out our 8s really quickly. We have 8, 16, 24, 32. So I can see 8 is not going to go into the 4. So I'm going to put a 0 above that 4. But it is going to go into the 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I'm going to put a 5. Sorry, all my pink's running out. I got to change colors. Okay, so my 8 goes into my 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. I subtract, and I get 0. And I always have to divide up into my decimal. So I have reached my decimal place. So I actually don't need the donuts for this problem. But again, if I wanted to go ahead and say, okay, 8 doesn't go into 0, 8 doesn't go into 0, it's still not going to change the value, right? $5 is the same as just 5. So this answer is actually a whole number, and that is a 5. All right, and our last problem is 2 1/4. So one of the things about mixed numbers is that we already know that if I have 2 1/4 dollars, right, I already know that I'm gonna keep the whole number. I'm gonna keep it. So my answer is gonna be 2 decimal something, right? 2 decimal something. But I have to keep this and turn it into a cowboy and horse division. So I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna put my cowboy in the house, take off his boots and hat, eat 2 donuts, and I'm gonna park my horse outside. From that point, I'm gonna draw my lines just to stay organized. So 1 line, the decimal, and then 2 lines for my 2 donuts. So then I can say, okay, I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That's probably good. I'm going to stop there. So does 4 go into 1? No, it does not. Does 4 go into 10? Right, it does go into 10. So I can say about 2 times. So 2 times 4 is 8. So 10 minus 8 is going to leave us with 2. I'm going to bring down that donut, and 4 goes into 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Put my 5. 5 times 4 is 20. I subtract, and I get 0. Okay, I don't need to add any more zeros because I have a zeroed out line and I am past the decimal place. So I can see that this 1/4 equals 0.25. But my answer is not this. My answer is keeping the whole number and then adding the decimal place behind it. So I have 2.25. So I keep my whole 2 and I converted my 1/4 into decimal 25. And that is the cowboy and horse method for converting a fraction to a decimal.